All right, let's do some area of squares and of rectangles. So the first thing we got to talk about here is what exactly is area? And the way I explain it to people, it's probably not a mathematical way of explaining it, but I just say it is the area inside of a shape. The area inside of a shape, okay? It's just what is inside of a shape, the area or the amount. You can say it's the amount. What all can you fit inside of a shape, in other words? That is what you would call the area. So the first thing we talk about here is the area of a square, and a square has all sides equal. So because of that, you know, usually like your teachers told you back in middle school, length times width. Well, it's the same deal. You can use length times width for a square. You can use base times height for a square. But since all the sides are the same, you can just say side times side. Well, you know, when you have something multiplying times itself, you can just say it's squared. So area equals side squared. Now I'm going to be really honest. I don't use it very much. I just do base times height. You know, if you want to say side squared, you can. If you want to do base times height, you can. Whatever works. They both give you the exact same answer. But side square is what your book would like you to use. But like I said, I don't care which one you use. So let's look at number one. Number one, we know it's a square because all the sides are congruent and all these angles are 90 degrees. So because all the sides are congruent, this right here, this 12 is your side. And if our area is side squared and S is 12, our area is going to be 12 squared. And when you do 12 squared in the calculator, you get 144. But let's talk about the units. Now we've done perimeter before, and that is the distance around an object, and that is always just, you know, meters or inches or centimeters or whatever, you know, measurement you're using. But when you're dealing with area, now we have a length and a width. You know, we have a height, you know, stuff like that. We have two dimensions. So if we have these two dimensions, we're going to square it. So don't forget to square your units. Now I'm going to assume that you can try number two, bring it to class. So fill out number two and bring that to class, and we will talk about it when we get back in there. So let's keep going. It's another problem about a square, number three, but you know, it's wordy. It's not a picture, but that's okay. You can handle it. The area of a square is 121 feet squared. What is the length of the side? Now, the first thing I like to do is figure out what do these numbers stand for. And it says the area is 121, so I tend to label like that. And they are saying, what is the length of the side? Well, this is the only number I see, and it's area of a square. And we know the area of a square is A equals S squared. Well, we know A is 121. Now we have to ask ourselves, what is the inverse of squaring? How do we get rid of a square? Well, you have to square root it. So if you square root both sides, and I'm going to write this in red real quick. If you square root both sides, what happens is this square crosses out with this square root symbol. And when you do that, then you'll have square root of 121 equals S. And then when you take the square root of 121 in your calculator, you will get 11. Now, students mess this up in my class. They want to know the units here. So is a side length feet squared, or is it feet? Think about it. It's a length, right? Just one dimension. It's just one side. So it's just going to be feet. Don't square it. When you square stuff, you're talking about area. And here you're just talking about a side. All right, so let's keep moving along. Area of a rectangle. Here's your base times height. You may have learned it as length times width. Excuse my phone there on the side. I should turn that down. So you may have learned it as length times width, but we'll use base times height when we do problems in my class. So let's go ahead and move on to number 4. Let's see here. I had to turn my phone down there. All right, so on number 4, we'll say this is the base and this is the height. Now, I don't care which one you call the base or which one you call the height, because technically I could pick up that rectangle and I could flip it over to its side, and then suddenly the 7 becomes the base, okay? So keep that in mind. Your base and height can flip-flop. So if the area is base times height, let's go ahead and substitute in our numbers. So then the area is 11 times 7. And then when we calculate that on our calculator, 77. What are the units? What are the units going to be? Feet times feet, feet squared. Okay, it's 11 feet times 7 feet, so feet times feet is feet squared. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and complete number 5 and bring that to class. We'll talk about it there. So go ahead and bust out number 5. Remember, you can pause the video at any time if I'm going too fast. If you want to pause it now, work out the problem, you can. If you want to wait to the end to work out the problems, you can do that too. Completely up to you. You're totally in control of your learning right now and what pace we're going at. All right, I'm going to move on down here. Number 6, the area of a rectangle is 54 yards square. If the base of the rectangle is 6 yards, find the height of the rectangle. Well, I like to label what these numbers are, so I'm going to reread it. The area of a rectangle is 54. So 54 is going to stand for A, for area. And then it says the base of the rectangle is 6. So this 6 stands for the B, for the base. And then it says find the height. Okay. So we're talking about area of a rectangle. So we know that the formula is A equals B times H. What numbers do we know? Well, we know A is 54, and then we also know that B is 6. And now we have our equation. So if I take 54 and I divide it by 6 on both sides, which is the inverse, I get 9. Now let's think about our units. The height of this rectangle is 9. Would the height be 9 yards square, or would it be just 9 yards? Well, it's one dimension, right? So just 9 yards. There you go. Boom, we're done with that one. Now these next ones, don't let them intimidate you. They're not hard. They're not difficult. You can totally do this. They're just a bunch of squares and rectangles. So these are called complex polygons because they look complex. You know, they have more than one shape. So in the first couple, you'll see we kind of split it up for you, but then it's kind of a free-for-all on the bottom too. You get to split it up any way you want. Here's what I'm going to suggest. When you're looking at your picture, I want you to go ahead and keep labeling things, okay? Like, let's look at number 7. I see 3 polygons there. I see this rectangle here, I see this rectangle here, and I see this rectangle right here. Okay? So I'm going to work out the area of each of those shapes individually. So let's go ahead and let's start with this one right here. So I know that this height right here is 3. But what is my base? Now, please don't tell me it's 3 inches. 3 inches is just this. Okay? Look, if I want to know what this is right here, it's right there. So this is 3, this is 3, and then look, this right here, this is 3. So my base here, my base is going to be 9. Okay, 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. So if area equals base times height, then my area here will be my base, which is 9, times my height, which is 3. So my area here will be 27. And what I like to do is I like to underline it, make it bold, put a star by it, put a happy face by it, whatever you want to do. Just make it to where you can find it later on when you're going back to look, okay? So let's move on down here. This guy looks pretty easy. I think we could tell that this is our height and that's our base. And hey, did you notice it's a square? We don't really even have to think about it though, right? We can still say base times height. It's going to give us the exact same answer. So for the area of this one, it's going to be 3 times 3. So the area for this one's going to be 9. And remember, star it, underline it, put a happy clown next to it. I do not care, but make sure you can find that easily on your paper because we're going to do something with it right at the end. Now let's go over here. Now I will admit sometimes it's confusing to tell what lengths they're trying to tell you this is, but do you see how 4 inches is nice and centered right here? They're telling you that this little length right here is 4 inches, okay? So if that's 4 inches and the other one's 3, that must be your height, that must be your base. So our area here is base times height. So then our area here will be 3 times 4, okay? So then the area is going to be 12. Star it, happy face it, whatever you want to do. Because think about it. This is a complex polygon. It has 3 shapes. And if I want the total area, I need to add all of these together. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to write the word add. There we go. Okay? You're going to add these together. So we'll have 12 plus 9 plus 27. And when you add those together, you get 48. But please remember your units. We're talking about area here. So inches squared. All right, I'm going to have you try number 8, bring that to class, and we'll discuss it when you get there. Remember, you can pause it now and do it. You can do it at the end of the video. If you need to pause this and rewatch number 7, pause this, rewatch, not pause it, rewind it and watch number 7. It's totally up to you. Let's move on down here to the scarier ones. Oh my gosh, can you even believe it? They didn't break it up for us. But you know what? I have faith in you. I think that you can break up a shape into smaller shapes. And it's a free-for-all here. No, there's a couple different ways of doing it. You know, no one's more right than the other person. I'm just looking at this and I see that this is a 3 by 2 right here. So the area for this one, 3 times 2. So it just caught my eye, so that's the way I want to break it up. So the area for this one is 6. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch into a different color so I don't confuse you guys too much when we do these. Well, what's the next one you want to do? I'm just noticing this. Look, that's 4, and that's 10, right? So if that's 4 and 10, let's go ahead and just knock this one out right here. So if the area is base times height here, this is 4 times 10. So then the area for this one is 40. Remember what I said about underlining it, starring it, make sure it's easy to find later. All right, now we have to deal with this last guy, and it's looking a little weird. Do you see how this 8 is actually centered along the whole entire side here? Okay, so they're telling you this whole side here, including the blue, is 8. So remember that this is 2. So if that's 2 and the whole side's 8, this must be 6. So be very careful there. Now, this is 5. But is that the whole length of this entire rectangle here? No, because this little piece right here, look above, is 3. So when we talk about this side here, that means 5 and 3 is going to be the length of this whole entire side right here. Be very, very careful, okay? So our area for this one, base times height, is going to be 8 times 6, okay? Here's my 8, and then there's my 6 along the side. So the last thing we're going to do here is we are going to add these together. And when you add 40 plus 48 plus 6, you're going to get 94 meters square. All right, so I want you to try number 10. I know it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world for you, but I have faith in you. Just break it up. I see 2 shapes there. Now the one I just did for you is 3, and that one has 2, so I think you can do it. So go ahead and finish up that one, bring it to class. And another little random fun fact that I wanted to tell you guys about, maybe you can tell me you heard this in the video by writing the word circle next to number 10 right here. Did you know that among all shapes with the same perimeter, that a circle has the biggest area? I know that you really enjoyed that random math fact. So just write the word circle right next to number 10. That way I can see who's watching the video with sound on and who's not. All right, until next time, do those problems. See you in class.